Hey everybody, it's the top of the hour. That means, not a lot, except that you've got a couple minutes to get yourself all set and ready. Get a snack, get something to drink, get all comfy cozy. Share out the link with your friends and family who aren't already in the stream. The Suzette Veneti Show will begin in about 2.5 minutes. Welcome to the virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Hey everybody, how are you? It's Suzette Veneti. Guess what? It's 5:03. It's a Sunday. That means it's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. It's, what is it, January? I don't know. It's not 2020. It's January 3rd. So welcome to 2021. It's going to be all better now because 2020 is behind us. This is the Suzette Veneti Show where your host, can she dance? Are her heels too high? We'll never know. It's a mystery. Okay. This is just news. I didn't write a joke for this, but the New York restaurant that hosted the Republican Club's holiday party got their liquor license revoked. Surprise. That's what you get when there's a pandemic. Don't do that. Okay. The Nashville bomber, whatever his name was, not only was quoted as saying no one will ever forget me, but was also on record believing in lizard people and hating 5G. He was part of a staggering 12 million Americans that believe that giant lizards disguised as people control the government and he posted all this from his 4G account. He's just scared of 5G. He panicked and was fearful that 5G was going to do something to him. And the lizards disguised as people were going to get him. Okay. On the East Coast, a 175-year-old speaking of lizard people, a 175-year-old giant tortoise named Mitch McConnell fucked up everyone's chance at getting $2,000 stimulus check, which would still be criminally low compared to what other countries are giving their citizens. The Senate Majority Leader blocked the standalone vote to increase the stimulus check, citing that they were socialism for rich people. McConnell's actions are going against most of his party mates and directly against his beloved Trump. There's not much explanation other than McConnell is clearly trying to show the producers of 2021 that he has what it takes to be the bad bitch, the top bad guy, once Trump is out of the picture. A Florida woman, of course, named Jimena Gonzalez Ramirez, who is 19, managed to slip out of a pair of handcuffs 4 times last Thursday as she was arrested for driving under the influence. Investigators said when she was mumbling and struggling, the skinny-looking, I just saw a mugshot, she looked white, woman was able to slip out of her handcuffs 4 times. And I was like, ooh, child, it's a good thing you look white. In Vacaville, California, a man working in his warehouse, Roberto Palomino, caught an extremely disturbing footage of an unidentified police officer sitting on top of and punching a dog in the face and throat over 10 times while taking time to look around to make sure that nobody was watching. When he saw Palomino recording, the officer stopped punching the dog. Palomino then feared for his own safety. Yeah, I bet he did. Canine officers are the police, right? They're partners. So this guy was punching his future partner in the throat. And Vacaville Police Captain Matt Leiden said that lay people might not understand the training that it can take, and it might be alarming to people to see it for the first time. No kidding, if that's the training. This isn't a joke, by the way. I just wanted to make it known that there's a video out there of a police officer throat punching a dog and calling it training. From the SmithsonianMag.com, scientists have identified a previously unknown blue whale song suggesting a distinct population had long gone undetected. But what got me was the headline, "Scientists eavesdrop on new population of blue whales singing in Indian Ocean." Rude, scientists, don't eavesdrop. Also from the SmithsonianMag.com, someone has a new app on her phone. In Jaffa, Israel, archaeologists excavating a site in Jaffa, well, I said that part. Excavating a site in Jaffa recently made a macabre discovery. A 38-year-old 100, that's 3,800, 38-year-old 100-old jar containing the skeleton of a baby. While most people are trying to come up with a macabre reason that this can be, why would you put a skeleton of a baby in a jar? They're trying to figure out. Fox News can't even, because they don't understand how something could have existed 3,800 years ago. That's before Jesus. There was no world. Fox News was quoted as saying. So fake news. Nearly 150 employees at at a Costco store in Washington State in Yakima County have tested positive for COVID-19, according to the county health officials in Yakima. Costco. I swear, you just go in for 1 or 2 things, and you can't help but get 150 of them. In vaccine-related news, a 33-year-old Disney employee bragged about getting a vaccine, leading to all of her Facebook friends to ask her how and why the tour guide from the Jungle Cruise got the vaccine when they're supposed to be for Tier 1 medical personnel. She said, number 1, I'm a Disney princess. And number 2, there were extra doses in the shipment that were going to go bad. So, like when the glass zipper fits. The hospital admitted that, in fact, there were extra doses, and after the scheduled medical personnel is given their doses, they're making sure to give them to somebody so they don't spoil, since the doses will spoil if left out over their holding temperature of negative 70 degrees for too long. And that's how they got to a Disney princess. They were actually looking for Elsa to help keep the doses cold. Speaking of vaccines spoiling and being left out too long, a pharmacist in Grafton, Wisconsin is facing criminal charges for intentionally spoiling up to 500 doses of the vaccine the hospital he worked at was storing in their sub-temp storage. Initially, the pharmacist lied and said he was trying to access other items in the refrigeration and took out the vaccines and accidentally forgot to put them back in. His lie unraveled when he was asked what he intended to actually take out of the refrigeration unit, and he said his midday snack of cucumbers. Hospital security guard and Milwaukee native Jim Kowalski stated, "That's when I knew the doc was lying, because I'm a regular reader of Delish.com, and according to Delish.com's 33 things that you shouldn't refrigerate, it's a common mistake, but storing cucumbers in the fridge will make them watery and pitted. If you choose to refrigerate them, it's best to wrap them up in plastic and minimize the moisture," Kowalski said. So he knew that the pharmacist had gone rogue and said that all to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist broke down and admitted that he knew better, leading to the admission of him leaving out the vaccines to spoil. Speaking of cucumbers, Hilaria Baldwin has come under Twitter fire for cosplaying a Spaniard for the last 8 years. In a story that surely everyone knows at this point, the yoga maven and wife of Alec Baldwin has, while never explicitly stating that she is from Spain, she's very careful. I read a lot about this. She never said it. She just said she got here. She meant New York, y'all. You didn't read between the lines. This has left the whole world leading the whole world to believe that she was from Spain when she wasn't. With an accent that fluctuates, she let everyone believe that she was from Spain. Her accent would fluctuate between heavy and light, and long-term lightweight suspicion from people, but they never cared enough to make it any to do about it until Amy Schumer made fun of her on Christmas Day, leading to Hilaria to respond in a now famous 5-minute rambling response. As she stood out in the cold on her New York apartment patio, she couldn't focus on having an accent, and she sounded kind of waspy. This led Twitter sleuth Lenny Briscoe, to the outing of Hilaria's decade-long grift of impersonating a Spaniard person, which opened the floodgates of everyone else jumping in and outing Hilaria's secrets. Look, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly, because she didn't technically lie. She just let everyone believe. But she actually grew up in Boston, and everyone's worried about her bad Spanish accent. But no one is impressed that she shed that native, terrible Boston accent. So I'm impressed. Also, people are mad at her that she flaunts her body, but she's 36 and has 5 kids. So I'm not mad about that. In a very 2020 story, 190,000 ceiling fans were recalled because their blades were detached and flying off, which obviously is dangerous. Home Depot is calling it their final destination recall. Staying in celebrity news, Cardi B has threatened Peppa Pig in a lighthearted story where Peppa Pig glorified jumping into muddy puddles, and now Cardi B's 2-year-old has adopted the habit. Cardi was quoted as saying, Peppa Pig better start counting her fucking days. Peppa Pig's representatives wasted no time in setting up a celebrity boxing match with Cardi B squaring off against Peppa Pig, COVID test pending, on February 4th. The undercard that night will be Chelsea Bearce against Blippi. Beginning in August, Jetpack Man has fascinated people in the Los Angeles area. Jetpack Man has been clocked flying up to 6,000 feet over the city and airports and over the Catalina Island. The FBI and FAA have been trying to figure out who he is and what he's using to rocketeer all over Southern California skies. They finally caught up to him and asked how and why he's Jansport flying around the sky, and he made a lame dad joke about not just wanting to be 6 feet away from people, but being 6,000 feet away from people. Hashtag dad joke. Tom Bjornson also stated, that's the guy's name, also stated that even at 6,000 feet high, he could hear his daughters groaning about his dad joke. Here in Sacramento, Cache Creek Casino in Thunder Valley closed their doors to the public on 1 p.m. on Thursday, only to allow high-roller private parties with more than 6,000 guests in attendance for the invite-only party. Because the casinos are on tribal ground, they don't have to follow county, state, or federal regulations, including COVID restrictions on occupancy. When reached for comment, a spokesperson for Thunder Valley said, "Of course we let idiot white people in during COVID. We want them to play our new slot machine game. It's called Infected Blanket Jackpot. Ding, 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 ding dongs." Staying local for the next story, last Sunday morning at 11:08 a.m., a 3.2 magnitude earthquake hit the Sacramento region, 15 miles below the surface. I didn't know about it until I was reading the news the next morning. But I also read that the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, has a website to register like who was aware of the earthquake and who wasn't. And the survey is called Did You Feel It? And you can help track where the earthquake was felt by filling out the survey. I just thought that was interesting because last time I had a date over, they were asking me, did you feel it? And finally, last bit isn't a joke, but congratulations on a milestone. Becky Hammon became the first woman to serve as a head coach in a game in one of the 4 major pro sports in North America, as she served for head coach for 4 minutes of the first half and the entire second half of the game Wednesday night against the Lakers. She was the coach of the Spurs. This is a huge deal. With the glass ceiling being broken on women being head coaches in North American pro sports, Congratulations, Becky Hammond. Soon enough, you'll be the head coach of your own team. We're all rooting for you. Okay, cool. That was a lot. Sorry, guys. News app. A lot of news to make jokes of, or try to. With that, we're going to get right to my first contributor. He brings it hot, and it's been boiling all day. So, Peers and Queers, help me welcome Clifton Ellison.
Hey, Suzette, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Well, over here in my Real Housewives fantasy, drinking wine, and my light bulb went out, so I had to run to another part of the room and get everything all situated to give it that ambiance, though. But did you have a good New Year's?
Quiet. It was very quiet. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I literally just played Nintendo Switch with my friends and just drank and played video games. And literally we forgot that the countdown was on, and we turned it on, and bless this girl's heart. You know that song TLC Waterfalls, and it say don't go chasing waterfalls, stick to the lakes and the rivers that we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, J-Lo should really, really stop chasing those high notes and stick to the lower registry or the lip syncing that she's used to. Because baby girl was trying to sing Aerosmith Dream On and sounded like cats in a dryer. What? Like have you ever heard cats screaming, or like a cat in heat? That's how she sounded like. And it was very bless her.
I thought you were about to ask me if I've ever heard cats in a dryer, and I was like, no. I have not. I don't like cats, but I've never put them in a dryer.
It was very, very, it was very traumatic. And if you ever been to a black church, whenever somebody sings a solo and they fuck up the note or something like that, there's always that one old lady in the back. She says, "It's okay, baby. It's all right." And that I really wanted to say that to her, because it was just bad. And I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm gonna put it up close to the screen. It sounds. I just want to see your facial reaction to this note. She should have just lip synced.
Yeah.
Lip syncing is more her thing, because that was just. And why are you singing Aerosmith? Did you run out of songs, or did Ashanti stop singing songs for you that you ran out of songs to sing? I don't know, but I digress. And the funniest part was, because they have different shows doing the New Year's Eve thing at the same time. So Andy Cohen was doing his thing with Anderson Cooper, and at the time that J-Lo was trying to achieve that note, they were interviewing Mariah Carey, and then she was like, "What is that noise?" And they were like, "Oh, J-Lo's performing," and she just went, "Oh."
Oh. But she's still a triple threat, just in her register. Because she's not.
Just stick to the lower.
Yeah. In that register, J-Lo, you're just a double threat.
Yeah, it just was not. It was not good at all. But speaking of the tea, the girls are fighting.
Okay, go on.
The girls are fighting. I don't have enough money to go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I've never been to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I probably won't go until we get all this, shenanigans situated with the diseases and things like that. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a white gay thing or a muscle gay thing or a circuit party gay thing, but they all just decided to fly out there anyways and go. And a couple of our favorite RuPaul's Drag Race girls was there too. Miss Shangela and Mr. Todrick Hall was there too. And there's this account on Instagram called Gays Over COVID, which is basically now like the new account that basically puts people on blast for going to circuit parties and things like that. And my whole thing is, okay, girl, yeah, I've hung out with friends. We've all have hung out with maybe like one or two people during this stuff. Like, I don't know a single person that's really, really, really just stayed at home and not spoken to anybody. But if you're going to be that irresponsible, get your ass on a plane, go on a cruise and go to a party with over 1,000 other sweaty ass, musty ass men, licking, sucking, popping, snorting, all that jazz, and then you're gonna post it on your Instagram stories, people are gonna come for you. So why not go? Just either don't go, or if you really want to hear a horrible ass Carly Rae Jepsen remixes that badly in a sweaty warehouse, don't post it. It's that simple. It is that simple. But it's very comical because everybody's just getting caught up because they're posting it. And then there was this video of this boat, and the boat started sinking, and it was all the gays that was going to that party. And and of course, you know, the internet where they dub over it with the Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, and everything else. And it's just been the tickle in my spine for the past weekend, you know. But
you know, I'm gonna stay off boats because the boat metaphor of like sinking when you're doing something stupid is just so strong. It's just such a good metaphor.
It's just, my whole thing is like, you know, we've been in this now for like 9-10 months now, and
almost 10,
like,
yeah.
You know, everybody has their limits. You know, I kiki, I went to brunch and I hang out with my close circle, but girl, don't sit here and post that you go into some party and then get mad when people come for you. Like,
well, I wanna clarify for you. You go to brunch, but you do it in a very, you know, safe.
But the brunch is very distant.
Well, and even, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing when you're doing anything else with anyone else. Like, you're being safe, you're wearing a mask, you're hanging out with your circle of people. It's not like you're going to one party with 100 people one night and then to the next party with 1,000 people the next night. And then coming to brunch, like, you know, there's a safe way to still be a person and go out with risk, but do so safely. And then there's going to Puerto Vallarta with, you know, thousands of people.
Yeah, it was just very irresponsible and just reckless and just. So I'm gonna send you the Instagram link because it has been like, you know that old phrase, a hit dog will holler. The hit dogs have been hollering because every other queen that has been going down there, well, you're just jealous because you can't go and da-da-da-da. Well, Chad, when you come back home, your ass gonna be like, you know, and I don't want none of that. So, but that's really all that's been going on this weekend.
Okay.
But Miss Suzette, you need to get you a Nintendo Switch so you can play online or something.
Oh, I know.
That's what we need to do. Everybody who's watching out there, let's tip her and get her a Switch, so then she can actually use Switch for some video game purposes, and then we can watch her do a little Animal Crossing or some Mario Party or some Mario Kart and things that.
Mario Kart's my jam.
I think you'll like Animal Crossing. It's really fun. It's really relaxing.
I'm scared that I would spend too much time.
It's addicting, but what else are we doing?
I would definitely play Mario Kart, and I know Stab has a lot of shows with gaming, including Haha Horizon. That's a comedy show. Happy Time Arcade. So, if I had a Switch, I would play.
I will. I'm gonna put that in the universe. We're gonna get you a Switch before the middle of this year.
Okay, if we're still in a pandemic, I'm in.
All right, well, girl, Thanks, am
Clifton.
going to let y'all go because she has to refill her cup and cook dinner and things of that nature, though. But thank you so much for having me. I really do feel like a luxurious woman with this background right here. I feel like I got like a husband and I got like a Botox appointment in the morning and an 800 credit score and things like that, though. But, you know, that's all lies.
Me too. I don't have any of that.
Me neither, girl. I'm broke, but
at least you got the background.
Yeah. Well, love you, Suzette. I'll see you later.
Love you too. Bye, Clifton.
Bye.
All right, Peers and Queers, that was Clifton Ellison. His information was below him on the screen. You can send him some coin. You can follow him on Instagram. You can also send some coin to Stab Comedy Theater. Their information is above my cute little head. And with that, let's get to my next contributor, fighting Blippi on February 4th in the undercard fight. Give it up for Chelsea Bearce.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hungry today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we need to talk about your opening monologue. You have a lot of shit to say, and you just plow right through it. We need to talk about some inflection. We need to talk about just getting people engaged, because I started to zone out, girl, and I'm on the damn show. So we need to figure that out. We need to fix it. We need to run some trial and errors. So we're going to do that. But, yeah, girl, it is, we got some people in the chat today. This is exciting. To Moth the God, we got Ellie Mae in here. Hello, you guys. Hello. Thank you for tuning in. This is, I never know what I'm going to talk about when I come on the show. I never have any fucking clue at all. And first of all, how dare you make me fight Blippi, this piece of shit wearing orange and blue. Blippi is a piece of shit. Do you know that he used to be a stand-up comic? Did you know that?
I did not know that, no.
Blippi used to be a stand-up comic, dead ass, and then he shit on his friend. That is real life. He shit on his friend.
Wait.
Poop.
Oh, he actually
pooped
on his friend.
And now, I'm not kidding.
I thought you meant like he shit on his friend.
Oliver's in the room right now agreeing with me right now. He 100% pooped on his friend, dead ass, and now he's teaching my kid about colors. It's bullshit. I think it's dumbass bullshit.
That's brown.
But I don't know. I will shade on Blippi. That's true. Double letter lady. I will, because he shit on his friend. He was a shitty comic. But then, well, that was funny. But that's real. And then he got out of comedy because he kind of got blacklisted. And then he started doing instructional videos for his nephew or something. And then it just blew up out of fucking nowhere. And now orange and blue belong to Blippi. So I would kill this guy. If you put me and Blippi in an MMA fight, done. He's done. I will teach colors. I will. Go. Do you have something to say?
Well, yeah, that's why I said that you would fight him, because clearly you would fight him.
Oh, I would fight him. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I think that should be the cautionary tale of doing stand-up comedy. Like, you could become really good, or you could become Blippi.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, I feel like if you have any sort of comedic chops, you'll be fine. Don't resort to shitting on a human. And I think that's like the line.
Like on stage? Like, where did he shit on his friend?
Robert Best said brown listed. That's funny, Robert.
That is funny. You had a funny joke actually in the green room chat, but I didn't say it because it was funny.
Okay, good. Thanks for killing the mood. Yeah, no, I am funny. Yeah, but no. I don't know where it was. I don't know what state it was in. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But anyway,
right.
Yes, that's Blippi, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I never know what I'm going to talk about, but last night, okay, here's the thing, is that we talked about my dating a lot, right? Because first of all, dating sucks anyway. But then you throw on a global pandemic and a quarantine and a shelter in place, and you can't cough and you have to cover 3/4 of your face all the time. Dating has turned into the biggest, it's obsolete. If you haven't found someone before this shit, it's probably not gonna happen during a pandemic. Finding new love is terrifying. Clifton talked about, gays over COVID and going on cruises and shit. It's like going on dates now is like going on Match.com and then like video chatting with someone and then having dinner through a screen. It's basically a Zoom comedy show. Like, it's a Zoom interview is what you're doing. So finding someone new is hard. It's really, really hard to do. Okay. Now it's fine. Dating is hard to do, but you have to be ready to date. That, right? You have to be like, okay with yourself, love yourself, want to date yourself, self-love, and love with yourself, all this shit before you like welcome somebody else into your world, right? And right now, that's really hard to do because a lot of us hate ourselves now because we're the only ones that we're hanging out with, right? So it's so hard to just like, yeah, I'm good, but I just ate 2 quarts of ice cream and I'm watching 90 Day Fiance for 6 hours in a row. Like, it's really hard to find that self-love right now, okay? So I downloaded Bumble again. Now, I downloaded Bumble again. Oliver, you're judging the shit out of me and I don't appreciate it. He's in the Zoom, right? You guys will see. This is a very eclectic group you have on this show, by the way, and I'm not hating it. I like it a lot.
Thanks.
So I downloaded Bumble again. Now, you guys, Bumble, online dating, this is your first chance to make a first impression on someone. This is the first chance they see. You get to choose these pictures. You get to choose them. So when I get a selection with this fuck eating multiple plates of Chinese food and the plates not even on the table, like, what am I supposed to think you're bringing to this relationship? Do you know what I mean? Like, in this situation,
An appetite?
why would that be one of your top 5 photos that you would choose to attract another human? Right? Do you have anything to say about that? I'll just take over the show. Do you want to participate?
No, I
Go.
do. I'm here. I'm just waiting my chance. It's like double
Go.
dutch. I'm not going to jump in at the wrong time and get caught.
I will yell at you.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Question. Dating. This is why we need to have another show where we talk about dating, because I genuinely do want to know, like, isn't there logic to starting with like your like not a great picture, but like a cute, funny picture, and saving the great picture for later? That way you don't, like, because if I put out my best picture, like if I started a Bumble account, right, and I put my headshot on the Bumble account, and it was like, oh, she's pretty, she's good, and then they saw me in person, they'd be like, oh.
Well, okay, I feel like creating your Bumble account or Tinder or Hinge or Match, whatever, Plenty of Fish, whatever you choose, I feel like it's like creating your resume, right? It's like creating your set list that you're going to do for comedy, if we wanted to put it that way.
Okay.
You start with a good one.
Okay.
You put a goofy one in there. I always put one with me on the stage so they know that I actually do comedy, like in life. I do that. But I try to stay away from, I don't know, pictures where there's 20 people, because who the fuck are you? Right?
Yeah.
So I stay away from those. I stay away from ones with like my mom or my kid in it, and maybe not a buffet of Chinese food. I don't know. I kind of stay away from those, you know?
But you didn't think he was like a wonton?
No, I didn't. But
Right.
the way that he's holding his plate makes me think that he would bite my hand if I went for something. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It didn't look like he was going to share with me in any way.
It's a bad picture. I think it's a bad picture.
It's a terrible picture. And now that I'm swiping through Bumble again, right? Because I'm all caught up on 90 Day. I can't start a new series because, dear God, I'll never get off the couch. What I'm saying is I've downloaded Bumble again just to kind of give myself a magazine of options. I'm looking through a catalog of dudes, okay? The amount of photos there are with white dudes holding fish is fascinating to me. Do you know, have you seen this? There's a whole catalog of just white dudes holding big ass fish. I don't know if they caught them. And even if they did, I'm not impressed. That's not a sport. You threw something in the water and you pulled it out. Like this, what about that is going to make me wet enough to have sex with you? You feel me?
No, it does. It's not for me either. Like, I'm not like, oh. Like, maybe it's a metaphor. Do you think that it's a metaphor? They're like, oh, look, I caught a fish in real life, and now I'm trying to catch a fish on this dating website.
I mean, you're giving them a lot of credit.
I don't think that's what it is either.
I don't think so either. I think it's just they run out of pictures to use, you know, and it's just
I think it's
the comments in this Twitch thread is cracking me up right now. So anyway, it's what I'm saying is yeah, I'm okay with being single. I'm okay. Does loneliness hit? For sure. Have I reached out to exes that I probably shouldn't? Absolutely. If you haven't been contacted by an ex, then you did something wrong. The sex wasn't that good. I'm so sorry. But I've reached out to exes because loneliness will hit you. You'll go through, it's like the different stages of mourning. You'll go through like the anger and the bargaining and the sadness and the suicide, and like you'll go through all this shit because you're lonely, and that it's fucking with your mind. Totally get it. And I'm at a place where I'm okay with myself. I do love myself. I have self-love. All that is great. I do. And I think a lot of that comes from being in a place, having your own environment where you still create creatively, you still make things happen, you clean it, you have your own environment that brings you that joy, right? So I'm okay with being single. What I'm saying is the options out there are not great. And even if you're in this state of being lonely, of being sad, of wanting someone in your life, don't fucking settle, you guys. Like, don't fucking settle. Like, keep your self-worth alive. I know it's really hard to do. Keep your self-worth alive, okay? Because settling is just going to lead to more problems down the future. It'll feel good for a second, but then goddamn, you won't be able to get rid of this dude. You know what I mean? God.
He'll just be fishing. You'll wake up one day, he's like, "Oh, sorry, babe, I'm going fishing again."
Oh my God. Yep. Red flag. Nope. He's just it's just for the gram.
So,
it's just
okay.
for the Bumble picture.
Here's what I think. I think that's like maybe their big accomplishment is like, look, I caught this fish. And so I was thinking about it, and you don't put up pictures of you on stage like holding a trophy. Like, look, I won this trophy. So what if he just puts up a picture of himself in a boat? Would that be, that's better than holding a fish,
great.
right?
Right. I feel like him holding up a fish in a dating website is like the equivalent to a dog bringing you like a dead bird, or a cat bringing you a dead bird. Like, look what I caught for you. Like, I can provide. Look, I did something good. You know what I mean? And it's like, stop trying so hard, dude. Like, you're on a boat. That's big enough. Don't show me the goddamn fish. Now, if this fucker showed me himself on a boat, and then the fish that he caught, and then a plated food, like a plate, like,
oh yeah,
you made that fish, prepared that fish, and I don't feel like you're gonna strike me when I go to take a bite, yes, then we can talk. I will swipe right on you. I'm with it.
Yeah, especially if you can plate. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Plating is hard to do, yo. You can cook all you want. Plating is hard. That's a different skill level.
So like maybe like a picture of him in the kitchen, like.
Oh my God, that's sexy as shit. That's almost like lingerie to a woman. Like, I mean, I don't know what lingerie is for a dude. Like, me and Miles Weber have had this conversation. Like, what is lingerie to a dude? You know, like, we have
a good credit
sexy
score,
panties, the teddy, the, sheer robes. We have all that. For dudes, what is it? You know? And like, he's asked this question years. He's asked this question to comedy clubs, and more often than not, he'll get some bitch in the audience being like, do the dishes. And it's like, for them, sexy lingerie is just chores. Like, do something, you know? I don't know why I'm talking about this. I don't know what the point of this segment is, but I will say I did download Bumble, and I'm disgusted at the things that I'm finding. The ratio of people that I'm swiping right on to the people that I'm swiping left on is 98-2. Like, it's just, it's insane. It's insane. So, but the most important thing that I want people to take out of this segment is just to self-love. Don't settle just because you're lonely, because you feel desperate. Don't settle. Okay? Everybody's still worth it. We're all in this state of turmoil. Everyone's going through bullshit. And we will come out of this, you know? And I just pray to God that everyone comes out just slightly stronger than they went in. So, I gotta go. I love you.
I love you too. I'm excited because you said I'm worth it.
Huh?
You said everybody's worth it. Everybody's worth it. So
everyone is worth it.
That includes
Absolutely.
me. Yeah.
Of course it does. Absolutely. Everyone's worth it. And everyone is deserving of having somebody in their life that treats them exactly the way that they should be fucking treated. And I'm completely guilty of falling short of that. Where I'm like, well, I mean, you'll do. You're okay. I mean, I want this, and this. I deserve this, and this. But I've settled in every relationship I've been in. I've settled. And it's bullshit. And I'm better than that. And I'm learning that now. So I'm actually thankful for the pandemic.
Okay,
and
Ari.
I'm good.
Well, just
I gotta go. I love you.
I love you too. Keep swiping.
Keep swiping. Thanks, everybody on Twitch. Bye.
Bye. All right, peers and queers, that was Chelsea Bearce. You can find her on her Instagram. You can send her some coin at her Venmo. She's great, and she's here every week. Hi, Twitch viewers. I'm not looking, but hi. Okay, cool. And with that, we're going to get to my interview guest. He is a phenomenal comic. He's a fantastic person. He came in 37th place on America's Got Talent, and he's making his once-a-year visit. It's an annual visit to Stab Comedy Theater. Give it up for Oliver Graves.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, people. Wow. Annual visit. It's not intentional that it's an annual visit. It's just kind of circumstantial that's turned out that way. I can't believe it's kind of like I remember being at Stab a year ago, and then things kind of stopped.
That's how
so
the
then
best
I wasn't
things
really
happen.
anywhere.
Yeah, that's how good traditions get started, just accidentally.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How are you?
You know. I mean, I'm trying not to feel anything.
That's probably better. I think we could all take a lesson from you, and that at least until this is over, just stay level and Buddhist and don't feel anything. What have you been up to during the pandemic?
A lot of normal stuff, actually, like staying at home, watching movies. I'm really good at doing this and like not socializing, not being near people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, there's a pandemic. I kind of forget sometimes. I'm like, I just thought I was, having an episode again. And I was like, okay, well, I can not leave the house. Every now and then I think like, oh, maybe I'll go somewhere and do something. And then it's like, all right, I never did that anyway.
Do you... So if you're so used to it, do you get to a point where you're like, okay, now even I'm kind of over it? Or are you just still good for like another 10 months?
I mean, it's the one thing that I would say is draining is I do miss performing, but at the same time, I like all the other stuff I get to do right now. And I'm writing a lot more. This kind of stuff is fun and interesting. Like I never did this kind of stuff before. So well, it's cool.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this is.
You are writing a lot. You're writing for the I want to pronounce it correctly. The Argus Courier?
Argus Courier, yeah.
Okay. What's it been like writing an opinion column for the Argus Courier?
That's been a way new experience. So when I first started writing pieces for them before we were actually publishing, because I had a head start, you can start writing now and start submitting and we'll start working with it. We had no idea what I was going to be doing. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of had way different things out there. And I thought, maybe we won't use some of those. Maybe that one will get written. We'll just sit on it and then go, we're not going to go in this direction. We've really kind of been using everything I've been writing, which is really strange because I kind of try to have different voices, different tones. I did a whole piece on an interview with the fly that landed on Mike Pence's head. So that's just dripping with satire. And then I've done really candid, honest pieces about, being ghosted and how I feel about movies and recasting and just, so it's very freeing in a way, but it's also very hard to find focus because it's like, how should I angle my next piece? How should I be? Because I can kind of do whatever I want.
There's no, if you had a narrower scope, then you would be able to, but you're right. When everything is possible, it's like, well, which direction should I go?
Yeah, I just have to be inspired in some way rather than I'm not a satire column, but I'm allowed to do satire, which is also a little, I talk with them about that a lot. I'm like, I used to write for Uncyclopedia. I am very familiar with satire. Do we really want this in a printed piece where people will read it and go, wait a minute, is this do I have to be overtly fake? They're like, no, you can just kind of do whatever you want. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that sounds like a lot of fun, and as long as you're getting something out of it, why not? And it is a challenge to figure out which direction to go. But it seems I look through your columns. They cut you off. You only get like half of a free article before you have to subscribe. But it seems like you have a pretty good balance of satire and opinion, and sort of things that you're interested in, things that other people might be interested in. That's what it seemed like, at least from the headlines or what the title of the article, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
I wrote a really, really long one time, which I asked them before I submitted. I thought about Ruth Bader when she passed away, and the filibuster kind of got in my head. Mm-hmm. So normally I'm kind of in around the 400 to 600 word area, because they're only limited from space and everything. And they said, well, on the website we can kind of do whatever we want. So if you wrote a really long piece, we could do that. And I came up with a joke to put at the end in the printed piece. It's like, well, like part 1 of 520, and they ended up putting the entire thing in print. It was like over 3,000 words, so it's like 6 times bigger than normal. And it's just this long rant where I'm just going on and on. It's being meta and making fun of filibustering, and I kind of couldn't believe they're like, yeah, okay, this is great, we love this. This is going in.
That's really cool. What a cool outlet for you to find. Do you think you would have found it without the pandemic, or do you think that it's directly a result of being in a pandemic?
I don't know, and I'm afraid to ask that. Like, I kind of I'm hoping, yes or no, but it also doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm like, sure. Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. Like, that's the gig I got. Like, but yeah. I do like it. It's been an interesting relationship because it's been so digital. Like, I haven't sat down in an office and gone over things and met 6 or 7 different people. I'm like, I just kind of had phone calls here and there and emails and Zoom meetings, and I'm like, well, this is what other people must be doing too in order to go through a process and everything. So
yeah, the world is changing. People are realizing that office space and overhead might not be as important as we thought, and working remotely might save people money. So you're kind of cutting edge in that way. Have you gained a new following from your column, do you think?
It's, so I was on a TV show a while back called America's Got Talent. I try not to talk about that too much because it kind of defines my life. But so I got a big following when I was on that. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, I could tell the algorithms, it kind of changed, and my, interest levels were, dipping down. I'm like, okay, I guess that's my 15 minutes. But then, so yeah, now I'm in this column, and it's a fairly regular thing. I have a regular stuff that I post that's not, selfies or jokes. It's a different thing. It's a link. It's it's keeping me very constant, because then, hey, I'm posting it every other week or whenever it's up. So I've noticed that there is kind of a steady kind of, oh, hey, there's people checking me out. They've had some, I don't know what to even call it. They've had positive response. They've forwarded me, hey, someone sent us a note. They really like your piece. And I've gotten other messages. And is it called fan mail? I don't know what to call it, because it feels weird to call it that.
I guess I would say you've gotten positive feedback.
Yes. Yeah. And directly, though, not just on the, or they went out of their way to make sure that that I got it, that, hey, make sure this gets to them, sending it to me directly. One person sent it to the same message to 2, my email and my website. I was like, okay, they really wanted to make sure I saw this. And I was like, that's been interesting and cool.
Well, see, we live in a society where people are really eager to give negative feedback directly and loudly, but rarely do people give positive feedback directly or at all. So they really meant it, I think.
It takes more effort, and they're
really
longer messages. It wasn't just 3 words that said this sucks or something. It was, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing, blah blah blah.
That's really cool. I hope that if you've made some new fans or gained some new followers from the column, I hope they follow you when we go back into the real world and you do shows on stage. I hope that they check you out there too.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to. I mean, I've always been a writer too. It's weird to say that, but I have been. So it's nice that I'm really forming a catalog, and it's it feels way more official now. Like when you're doing comedy, and I'm writing all my jokes, mm-hmm. You don't tell people you're a writer. I perform on stage. It's more notable. Like I'm a comedian, but I am a writer. But that's how I got to get to that point, is I had to write something down to get on the stage to say the joke,
Right.
But I'm like, well, I don't do that as much, but I'm still a writer. And like, well, look, there's proof. These people are letting me do it for them, and they're publication and everything.
Yeah. No, it's very official. Do you think any of your would you say a lot of your existing fans are following you to the Argus Courier?
I know some are. I know some are they're really into what I do, and they like my comedy. So it's fun for them to kind of read between the lines, because I swear not everyone gets my jokes, which is a lot of fun for me. Actually, it's like if I were better at designing riddles and puzzles, I would do that. But I try to be funny, so I can get things in there, and every now and then someone will they'll get it and they'll let me know that was funny and that was good.
Oh, like you'll have a joke for one or two people.
Oh, and that, which is fine. I don't care if it's if it's.
No, I like that too, and it's funny because me and Dave's not here today, and you and me and Dave go at it about movies sometimes on Facebook. So I was hoping you'd be here, but yeah, we've talked a lot about that where I'll do a joke for one person in the audience, and he's like, maybe don't do that, or do it. He doesn't care, but he was there one time when it backfired. So one column that I was really interested in before, I realized that I couldn't read it because I wasn't a subscriber, is the one you wrote about Black Panther and recasting T'Challa. So what was your conclusion about the future of T'Challa in the MCU with Chadwick Boseman's passing?
Well, there's actually a story to that article too, because I wasn't sure if I should even write it. And then two, I wasn't sure if they should publish it. So I sat on it and I didn't send it to him right away. And it got out about a few weeks before they made an announcement about Black Panther 2. I had said that I think they should recast.
Really?
And yes, because I don't like the idea of them just kind of saying well, you know what, when Superman needs to retire, or he passes away or gets injured, or Batman needs to go away, or Spider-Man hurts his back. There's all this, there's almost immediate talks of recasting and how they kind of live forever. These superheroes live forever. And I thought, well, there should be a Black hero that lives forever. And I think it's unfortunate and tragic that Boseman passed away, but to say any work he put into that character now has to go away and it can't be carried on by someone else. I was like, that hurts way more than anything else. You can't just edit around it or put a digital face in there or try to pass along any feelings and emotions that the character had, to another character. Men's feelings matter, to say that you can just give that over to the sister. I was like, no, he was the one that watched his father die. He was the one that failed. He was the one that had to hold that and let go of the revenge. That's all in the movie. And you can't just go, here you go, someone else. That's on you now.
Yeah, okay, so this is rare for modern times. I disagree, but I respectfully, am admiring your side. Because with comics, there's a mantle of the character, the mantle of Black Panther. And so I think it's almost better and more respectful to let his work rest and not have somebody else take over. But you're making some really good arguments.
Well, I come from kind of a theater background, and movies try to make such a point of being the thing, being the one and only. Mm-hmm. And that isn't ask someone who their favorite James Bond is, there's going to be a lot of answers there. Ask someone who their favorite Han Solo is, there's less answers, because it's a defining thing that they try to make on purpose.
Right.
But in theater, ask someone who their favorite Hamlet is. It's a way different answer. True. Because the show must go on. The character transcends the actor. And most actors understand that. They know that they will never outlive their character, because that's someone else can take up the role and take it up. And I think what's really hard about the superhero movies is there's no brakes on those trains. Right. They don't get to stop and go, let's take a break and really think about this, look at this, see how the public's going to respond, because they didn't even do that. They announced, like I said, a few weeks after that, we are not recasting, we're moving forward, we're making another movie. It's well, of course, because they got to make that money. People are familiar with the project and they want to have a sequel come out no matter what.
I am interested to see what they do, how they address it in the movie. We're gonna have to wait like two years, I think. But
it's a really delicate thing, and it's interesting that they're going for it and saying we're not slowing down. We will address it in some form or some way, pretty much on schedule.
I just hope it's not an on-screen death. I hope it's an off. I don't know how they're gonna explain it, but I think that would honor his memory the best.
My bigger hope, which would fall more into my opinion of recasting, would be to not even touch it or address it. Just say he's missing, and focus on whatever story they want to tell instead, and don't talk about it makes it too meta. Like when Carrie Fisher passed away, and then Star Wars had to deal with. It's like you're kind of breaking that fourth wall too much.
Well, there's also, okay, since we're talking about the MCU and you brought up meta, I am curious, how did you feel about the James Rhodes recasting in Iron Man 2? And his first lines, Don Cheadle's first lines, were, "It's me, I'm here, deal with it," which wasn't so much to Tony Stark, but that was kind of more to everyone else about the recasting.
I don't know how that one, like, it shouldn't happen, but also sometimes it needs to. I don't know what the whole situation was with Terrence. My understanding is he just came off of like Hustle and Flow. He was doing really well. He was a big actor, and he was asking for a lot of money, and he wanted even more, and they just kind of went around with that contract and were like, hey, well, it looks like we're not going to bring you back.
Yeah, but how do you feel how they addressed it in Iron Man 2?
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't know that was intentionally like.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
To me, it feels obvious because he was like, "It's me, I'm here, deal with it," and I was like, "Okay, that's how they're doing it." Well, I could talk about the MCU with you all day, but we'll have to schedule another time to do that because I have all these other questions. What was your favorite column to write for the Argus Courier?
Favorite column? The filibuster one was fun for a while, but boy, did it ever get daunting. Because that was like 6 articles worth of an article for one. Mm-hmm. So when I got into it, it was really good. Then there's times I'm like, how long does this need to be? Because that was a different experience. That was, and I still think it's not even that long. I think I should have made it longer. I should have really pushed the joke, really challenged my editors, be like, all right, here's this 24,000 page article I just wrote just for you guys. But then I'm like making a joke just to my editor, and I'm like, that's probably not that funny. But I do that kind of thing. I shouldn't, but I do. I like to kind of make a joke just for one person.
Yeah, you could have sent him the 24,000 page.
But then I would have to have written a 24,000. Like that's where I was. I was like, I need to find a comfortable stopping point.
Well, because with filibustering, sometimes it just becomes nonsense, and so you could have just copy and pasted and put song lyrics in.
I was adamant with what I was doing. I'm like, this has to be original content. I was getting to the point where I thought, like, this reminds me of a quote, and I was gonna just paste in even more. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to. I actually kept it on subject. I didn't get off subject very much, which was another challenge, to really talk about these things in a way that were relevant to filibustering, politics, speaking, attention, like, because there was all those things I kind of got touched on. Like, that's all part of it.
Well, that's cool. Do you think you'll write another article that will be as much your favorite as that one, or do you think that one will be it?
I don't know. That was a whole different thing. That I don't know how I even got inspired to do that, and how I was ever gonna. I don't know how I finished it. It's baffling to me. So I would hope that something comes along where I'm like, hey, this really means something, and it felt, more like please read it. That's one where I'm like, if we get to the point and Bernie Sanders is going to filibuster, I'm like, can we send him my article? Can he read that when he's filibustering? So that one, I'm a little like, I haven't moved on and thought of the future yet. I am a little like, oh, that was so much fun.
You were inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so not a minute ago, but a couple minutes ago, you said you don't like to talk about America's Got Talent much because what was the word you used?
It like defines my life.
Defines your life. Well,
I feel like I talk about it all the time.
Okay, so do you want to skip talking about it today, or do you want to talk about it?
No, we can talk about it. It's
Okay.
fine.
I don't think it defines your life. I think it's an interesting blip. Like, do you feel like it was a springboard for you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But maybe that makes it reinforces that it defines your life, I guess.
It's hard because this is something I don't talk about too much is I knew. So when I was announcing like years ago that I was going to be on the show, I knew I was off the show. And everyone's happy for me. And there's all this praise. And I'm sitting there, mouth shut. This is a bad ending. Like I don't, it messes with your head so much. So it still kind of messes with my head because people are like, oh, you should have won. You should have. I'm like, yeah, but I don't control that. I'm not, had I gone further, it would have been better. I'm like, but I need to be happy and thankful with what I got because who got 50 million views as a stand-up comedian? Like almost nobody.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a lot of views. So because of the filming schedule and the release of the production schedule and non-disclosure agreements, that's what you're saying. By the time you could announce that you were on the show, you had already filmed and you knew the results.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I had filmed 2 episodes and been eliminated at the second episode. And then, June comes around and it's like, hey, I'm going to be on TV. And I didn't even really know if I was going to be on TV. Like they tell you, like, here's some emails, like, yeah, maybe. Because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen the final cut and been like, oh, there I am. I didn't know if they were going to show anything. I thought like, hey, if they put a joke on TV, that would be really cool.
That's cool. I mean, that you were on TV and not like left on the cutting room floor.
Right, which another comedian I met there, they really only gave him like a joke.
Oh.
I met Bone Hampton when I was filming the second episode, and he is never really in his first appearance. Oh. They kind of leave him on the cutting room floor.
Okay, so there's like a middle ground between him and like somebody who wins the show.
Yeah, there's a whole range of, they can kind of do whatever they want, but you can be completely cut too. I met a girl, she was actually from Sacramento. Mm-hmm. We met in San Jose when we did our kind of, hey, are we good enough to even meet the judges or whatever? And I met her parents and said, hey, they kind of, recognized me when we saw each other again. She filmed, she's a singer, she sings her song, she gets the yeses or whatever. And then they never aired her. I don't think they ever brought her. I have no idea, but I don't think they ever brought her back. And I think that was it.
Wow. That's rough to get your break and then not get your break. Because what do? You can't go back. Huh.
I feel for her. It's like, what'd you air me for? Air her, air the kid. I don't matter.
What was the experience like to film?
Daunting. I didn't get any sleep the day of so they filmed me a little bit before. They try to get all kinds of pickup shots and stuff. And then I didn't sleep at all. I got maybe 3 hours of sleep. And I'm just trying to sleep more. And I'm like, at some point I'm going to have to, actually go there, which was 10 in the morning. And then I didn't actually get on stage in front of the judges till 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
So I'm there all day. And they're picking up, there's all kinds of shots of me in the background, which are really fun. I love posting shots of those, like me on my phone with other people on their phone, because we're doing a thing on phones, and just in the background of other people's pieces, because I was sitting there for so long and they're filming so much stuff. And I was like, that's just so much fun for me. But it was the longest day of my life, hands down.
Is that
no sleep, waiting and waiting and waiting, doing whatever they need me to do, and rough.
Is it just random? Can you get there at 10 in the morning and perform at 11 in the morning? Or
no. They have an audience that comes in, and they come in. I think they have 2 shows. It's 2 live shows, so you can get tickets to these shows.
Okay.
And I think they do a 6 o'clock show and a 9 o'clock show. So I'm an adult and I'm one guy, so they kind of kept me on reserve the entire night, but all the kids had to perform early. They're pretty much all the kids were performing in the first show. So if there was a under 18, they were going to try to get them on right away. So I got bumped several times. We're running out of time. We have to get the child act on, and then, okay. But I'm easy set up and strike. So that's the whole point of comedians is we can walk out, tell jokes, and walk off. You don't have to put band equipment. You don't have to clean the stage. You don't have to do anything. So they used me in a very traditional way, a way I was kind of used to, where I'm like, I could go up at any time and do what I need to do and get off. I'm like, okay, that's cool, fine.
I'd be terrified of that because I'd be like, no, my hair and lipstick look good at 11 in the morning. It doesn't look so good at 11 at night. But
that totally happened to me. When I met Tyra Banks, I had a big crack in my lip. But they filmed that like 3 or 2 hours before I actually walked out on stage. Mm-hmm. So I noticed it, because I didn't notice when I filmed with Tyra. Mm-hmm. And I fixed it before I actually walked out again.
That's good. How long had you been doing stand-up prior to going on the show?
I had done it off and on when I was like, I tried it out in high school, but you can't really do it much in high school.
Right.
I tried it out like after high school, and then like when I got to be 21, I tried it out here and there. Then I didn't really get into it until like 23, 24, and now I'm 30. So I guess it's been 7 years that I was like, I'm gonna start going to San Francisco and Oakland. Well, not 7 years; it's been like 8 years now. So yeah.
So you'd been doing it for a couple years. So it wasn't like your first time doing stand-up on the show.
No, and yeah, a lot of people think it was, which is weird.
Right.
When was that? 2018. I started really going to SF in Oakland more in 2013. So it'd been like a good 5 years of feeling. I was at that point actually, right before I got the America's Got Talent audition, I was trying to win contests to get headlining spots. I remember I did one, and the winner got a 45-minute set. But that's what I was like. I really want to do this, and I know I can. So that's the kind of stuff I was doing.
Yeah, 5 years is for comedians, at least everyone that I've ever talked to, 5-10 years is when you start to really get comfortable. But it's funny because a lot of people do think the first time they see you in a big moment, like, oh, you just started. And it's like, no, there's so much work that goes to getting to this point.
It's a kind of on purpose with me. Like it's very intentional, the downward and the inward and the shyness that I'm doing. So I don't really blame people for thinking like, oh, he's never really, that was amazing. He walks out and he does stand up. He's really good at writing jokes and all that. It's like, yeah, but that's the energy I'm kind of trying to give off. Not that specific energy, but so it kind of goes hand in hand.
Well, yeah, but even not just what you're giving off, but I'm just saying, like, even people on the Tonight Show, people are like, oh wow, an overnight success, and it's like that person's been doing stand up for 10 years. Like,
right, yeah.
There's nothing overnight about them getting on the Tonight Show. Like, it was a really long journey with a lot of open mics in between. Were you surprised with reactions from viewers when you were on America's Got Talent?
I mean, I'm mostly surprised that so many people saw it. I really didn't know what to think or what was going to happen. I thought for a long while I was going to be a gag dud act, that they wanted me to come out and just basically suck, and they were going to make fun of me. And because I hadn't really seen the show in a couple years. I'd watched it like when Sharon Osbourne was on, and so it was a whole new set of judges. And usually whatever the judges say, people tend to go, they're right, we believe them. So if you got made fun of, very few people would come to your defense. I got made fun of, but it's fine. It was a weird variety of people who like, I want to hug him. I love their comedy. Like, this isn't funny at all. I know. I just kind of rolled with all of it.
Would you do it again? Like, would you do it differently, or would you just not do it?
I don't know. Well, first of all, it's not up to me. Like, it's up to them. And
sure.
Mostly the answer is probably going to be no, you're a rerun. But I really wouldn't want to do it again at the point I'm at right now, because mostly what I do is the same. And like thinking bigger and thinking of like the TV and sort of what the judges want. They don't want to see me do the same stuff again. So I would have to come there with a different approach. And so in that case, like the answer is no, because I kind of like doing what I do, and I want to get better at, meta humor and anti-humor and all that. So no, but if I could go on doing exactly what I do right now all over again, maybe, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It really, for so many people, I'm sure the answer is an easy yes or no. I'm like, there's too many factors.
What advice would you give to somebody who's going to go on for the first time, but, doesn't know, like they're asking you for advice?
Well, one, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Like I said, people got cut. So know that too. Like you can worry so much that it's the most important thing ever because it kind of like I lucked out super hard. I'm not going to act like everything I did was designed and I'm a genius and I knew exactly what I was doing. But, it going viral, that was great. But you should plan for the best, plan for the worst. And if, you think it's not going to air, then you can ease off. Don't be nervous and just do what you do and let the rest just happen.
Okay. That's good advice. I think, again, just kind of stay balanced. Like, don't get too excited. Don't get too down. Kind of like what you said at the start of the interview. You mentioned meta-humor and anti-humor. Can you define those for the audience?
Well, okay. Anti-humor. Here's a good this is not one of my jokes, but it's a good anti-humor example joke. What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick.
And that's an example of anti-humor.
Anti-humor.
Okay. Why?
Because it's not actually a joke.
Okay.
It's just true. Because if you were to smash a brick into your teeth, that would be bad for your teeth.
Okay.
But humor derives from that because you present it in the way a joke is normally told. Because you go, what's red and bad for you? And it's like, you've heard that set up before. So it's presenting you the idea that this is going to be humorous. Then it's just a blunt, here's a real answer.
Right. I like that I like that definition of anti-humor because I've never heard of that. Normally, if someone told me that, I would have said, I guess that's a misdirect, which is a type of joke where you say one thing, you set up one way, and then you say something unexpected. Would you say a misdirect is anti-humor, or would you say they're different?
Not always. I wouldn't say they're mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's sort of the dry matter-of-factness of anti-humor. Anti-humor also, it can be something like, Adult Swim uses a lot of anti-humor. And I think Too Many Cooks, which goes into all different kinds of humor. That's also a good example of meta-humor. Can get into it because it just keeps, I don't know if people are familiar with Too Many Cooks. It's an intro of like a sitcom of like Full House or Family Matters that just keeps going and going and going. And that is in a way anti-humor because it's the humor is from that is that it doesn't stop, that it is a continuous thing rather than having beats, which it does have, but that is one part of its rhythm that doesn't ever change notes. It is just throughout an intro rather than dialogue or anything else.
So that's another example of anti-humor.
And meta-humor, though, too, because of the fact it's making fun of intros. So you have to be familiar with these shows, and that's because then you know what it's making fun of.
Right. Otherwise, someone might think it's funny, but they wouldn't understand why it's funny.
Well, luckily it's layered. I think Too Many Cooks is one of the best comedic pieces made, like, in the last 10 years. It really is just genius. Because if you didn't get the meta part of it, you might get the anti-humor part of it. So at least there's those aspects of just that kind of an experience. If you haven't seen it, I highly praise it. And if you hate it, explore why. Like, ask yourself what you don't like about it.
Okay, and it's just on YouTube. It's just called Too Many Cooks?
Too Many Cooks. It's an Adult Swim. It's a one-off. Like, it's not a series. They didn't make more. It's like a short film in a way. And it should have been given more accolades and things. It really just out of nowhere.
For anyone looking for it, I'm guessing it's spelled Too Many Cooks.
Too many, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, some people have trouble with too. So, Too Many Cooks. So, all right, this kind of leads into my next question. I read a quote where it said that you don't think that you get booked often because of your unconventional style or your looks. So your style would be anti-humor, meta-humor, and your looks obviously are not traditional for what most, guys do for stand-up comedy. Is that quote accurate?
I think so. I think when you used to, look at places that book comedy, they do stuff. So there's different aspects to comedy. There's you know, there's clubs, there's places that do comedy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's places that don't normally do comedy, but they might normally do shows. So in both realms, I think I'm a hard sell, because if you don't normally do comedy, you want to get people in the door to come see a comedy show. You want them to know it's a comedy show. You want them to come out, sit, pay attention. You want that kind of, you want an audience that's going to sit ready to laugh. And if you don't normally get that, that's already difficult. So if you have me on a flyer or me on a show, that's not the normal aspect. The normal aspect is kind of like energy and engaging, and it's kind of what works, the normal, you know, like how do you get butts in seats and what works? And I'm not really that.
Yeah.
And in clubs, it's kind of the similar aspect where you have stuff all the time. So you don't want to have people walk in who already have preconceived notions of what comedy is and what a comedy show is. And that's why they're coming to your club. And then for them to sit down and go, okay, it's this tonight. We came on the wrong night.
But that being said, I think, because, you know, I produce shows, I think having a can I say non-traditional comedic
Sure.
act? Having a non-traditional comedic act, if you do it right as the club or as the booker, and you kind of buffer against those people saying what's happening, if you kind of bookend it, you can introduce that style to a lot of new people who might enjoy it but never thought they would have. Do you ever find that happens?
Yeah, I got a little bit of a following, which is nice. So people will sometimes come out and see me, which is more than some other comedians have. Like, you know, there's thousands of comedians in the greater Bay Area and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you got to ask, like, well, who's going to sell a ticket? And it's like, okay, well, so what? I sell 2 tickets. I might have scared 2 people away. So some people go, it's not worth it. I'm like, okay, I can't really use that as anything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, I am something different. I am refreshing. So I'm like, I've kind of said to people, I am still a risk. Like, there are pros and cons. Like, I understand that, you know, I can be the greatest thing that anyone's ever seen, but I can also be a huge no. So it's difficult to balance it. It's what the one thing that has been really nice about like being on America's Got Talent and being more notable is I can kind of just be my own act. Like, I can be a 30-minute to 40-minute act, and the pressure is all on me rather than kind of putting it more on like the venue or whoever's doing it. So they're not sitting there going like, oh, well, he's going to ruin the show when he's up for 7 to 15 minutes. It's like, no, I can handle the show if you give me the 30 to 45. Like, I know how to do this. It's also kind of buying the credibility, like trying to show people like, I really can do this. Like, I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Please give me the chance, rather than, you know, thinking, oh, we're unsure about this, which I understand in someone else's show. I can kind of derail and change the energy. I've talked with comics about that, where I've been on shows and the night was going okay. Then I go up. I'm not saying I bombed, but I'm not saying I killed it. Like, it was different. It's the way I get laughs and the way I pull people in. It then made it a lot harder several times for the next comic. You know, I'm not going to name names or belittle anyone, like, but they couldn't get it back to the energy they wanted, and they couldn't play off of mine because they're not the same kind of comic.
Right.
So it's a bigger world than people, I think, even, you know, think about.
That's why I say that it takes a lot of care and effort into, if I was like, if like a club was like, oh, we're going to have Oliver, who should we put around him? Like, I would think very carefully about that. Like, maybe having Chelsea come after you, because Chelsea doesn't give a fuck, right? And she has her own energy. She has her own thing. So you can entertain the crowd your way. And I would believe that Chelsea would be able to manipulate the energy back to her way. That would be, I mean, just an easy, quick guess, I guess, if I was just going to guess about it.
Right. I think I did a show once where I followed Chelsea. I'm trying to remember if I know she went on before me at one point in that night, but I don't remember if it was like right after. Mm-hmm. And I had a split audience that night where like literally half the side was not into me and the other half was. And I was like, but I got to play with that myself then.
Right.
But because she really had them going. Yeah. And then I lost kind of a little bit that she had, you know, and hyped up and everything.
Yeah. I mean, she galvanizes an audience. She really brings them together. So I think that would be a key of having someone follow you. If you were doing a 30-minute show on your own, and you're pitching that to a venue, do you have an opener? Like, what if you? Let me ask it this way: if you had an opener, what kind of act would be the best act to open for you?
I like to have someone who doesn't kind of touch on a lot of stuff I touch on, which is I am pretty all over the place, but also a lot of my comedy was written when I was in my 20s and dating and all that. So I don't really want to have another, like 20-something-year-old male doing those kinds of jokes, because then it's like, well, it's just gonna be more of that. I also don't really want another dry one-linery comic. So I've worked with older comics a lot, married comics, because then they're talking about a different aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
So that works, and they can be a little bit more friendly, engaging. They can laugh at themselves. Someone like that, not too high in energy, because if you're too high energy, then you're gonna either be exactly what the audience wanted, and then I'm not gonna be what they wanted, or you're gonna tire them out, and then I'm not gonna be able to like keep them going the whole night. So
so as far as humor goes, you'd have somebody who was more traditional comedian.
Yeah,
not
which
another
I know
anti-humor.
sounds weird, but that's what helps it work.
Mm-hmm.
Is you
Balance.
kind of need that contrast. You kind of need someone to be my setup to my punchline. It's like you need to show this is what comedy's normally done like. Then after 15 minutes of them, I come out and I go, this is how I do it.
Okay. What if somebody did normal comedy but had unconventional looks like you do?
That would be fine. I don't know. I haven't met too many people that do comedy like in kind of a different, like that care about, like a lot of them just wear jeans and a hoodie and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, that's how you want to look. I would prefer someone who cares a little bit more. If you wear a tie, that's already like, well, that's a step up among a lot of other comedians.
With a hoodie and jeans and a tie?
Well, that's already interesting.
Oh,
if they're
okay.
wearing a tie with all that other stuff, that is someone who is making fun of something without saying anything.
So that would be meta humor then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I was curious about this quote because I don't get booked a lot if it's not my show. So I was thinking instead of going like with the grain, maybe going against the grain harder and going like with a gothier look for myself like you. And maybe, because if you're having trouble and I'm having trouble, maybe if I try what you're doing, maybe I'll get booked more. Does that make sense? No.
This is not the year to test things, I don't think.
Right.
Like, just gonna put that out there.
Fair.
Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know what doesn't work for people for what I do. Like, I don't ask too often. I've heard a few things, but I definitely have heard like, why this? Like, why the eyeliner? Why the black lip? Like, it's kind of like, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than like someone wearing a t-shirt. Like, why'd they wear that t-shirt? Like, if it's a plain fitted tee.
Well, a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people don't think about how their entire appearance is part of their performance. Whether they think about it or not, the audience can pick up on things. And again, not all audience members will, but you're underestimating the perception of people and their ability to take things in if you don't care about how you look on stage.
I would say even if the audience isn't consciously picking up on it, they're subconsciously picking up on it, and it's affecting affecting at least their thoughts about you at the start. That could change by the end, but it at least sets the table for your performance, what they see. So
yeah, and sometimes it's things where if you don't address it, it kind of makes you look more like a fool. They lose respect for you, which is a problem I have. Is I don't really like to make fun of myself too much, because I feel like this is kind of enough. Like, this is kind of setting up the energy that I'm doing. It's part of my performance. But, if you were to walk on stage, anybody, not you or me, but anybody, with like two different shoes on, like the non-matching shoes, and you never mentioned it, that would be a faux pas in my feeling, that you can't assume if they could, they'd have to see your shoes, like standing on stage.
Right.
But if you didn't mention it, you would be basically insulting that audience, because they looked at that, they saw that, and they thought about it, like it was in their head, but then you didn't do anything with it. You wasted their thought energy for nothing.
This is kind of an ongoing topic on the show here, our 37th episode, where if there is an elephant in the room, like if you're performing in front of a weird mural, you know, and there's a huge red dog, and no one says like, oh look, Clifford's on this wall. Like at some point you'd have to say that so the audience can take their attention off of the mural and put it on you. And so like you said, like if you're wearing two different shoes, that might be all they're thinking about. But for you, you want them to think about what you look like.
I mean, it's part of being mysterious too. Like the stuff I'm doing isn't overtly and obvious. Like I'm not wearing, you know, a Superman shirt. So it's not like I'm saying I am Superman or I'm really into comic books. Mm-hmm. It's a raggedy sweater thing that I wear. So that doesn't say anything directly. That doesn't put a thought in people's head and they go, oh, he's wearing a raggedy sweater. This guy must knit a lot. Like it doesn't give an automatic click.
Right.
It's kind of, what is this? And I kind of solve that by telling stories and talking about, you know, my life and stuff, and then telling jokes about it. And then it starts to put the pieces in place. So this is just a puzzle piece for me.
Do you find that that's more effective with a longer set? Like if you only are doing a 5 to 7 minute set, do you have enough time to like solve that puzzle for the audience?
Oh, I regret it if I don't dress up more. Oh yeah. If I'm just wearing all black or just like my you know, long sleeve sweater and I don't have more going on and I just do like a 5 to 7, I feel like I have missed out on more energy and more of that. Yeah, more of that puzzle piece kind of falling into place, because then it hinges more on just I look a little weird and I'm telling some jokes and then I get off stage. Because you don't get to build when you do that kind of time.
So what's a good amount of time for you to actually kind of, I don't want to say explain that, but kind of let the audience in on the joke. Let me say it like that.
Get those gaps all filled in their head.
Yes.
When I started doing longer, like featuring sets, like 20 minutes, that's when I really felt like I could get the ball rolling. And, you know, after getting past like the first like 5-7 minutes, like the last 3/4 of my set, just everything was making sense. Everything could really hit. I mean, obviously, just do an hour, right? Just do an hour every time. If someone gives you 5 minutes, just run the light by 55 minutes.
No, I was thinking about that as you were answering. I was thinking, well, yeah, what comic is going to say like, oh yeah, but I mean, there are times and there are comics that would love, like I've heard a lot of comics. I think I want to attribute this to Miles Weber. I think it was Miles that said like if a comic's really scared of you, he's gonna, like if you're featuring at a club, he was saying, and he was talking to a group of people, not to me because I would never, no one's having me feature at a club. But if you're featuring in a club and the headliner's like, hey, do less time, Miles is like, oh, that's great because that's easier for me to be funnier in a shorter amount of time. That's a different approach than you, but I think there's different types of situations. You're trying to do something different than he is, obviously, which is interesting because he also, right off the top of his set, addresses how he looks. So there's an interesting sort of flowchart of study there that I would like to think about more.
I use down moments a lot, and I do so much that you shouldn't do in stand-up comedy. People ask me for advice a lot of times. I'm like, you shouldn't take advice from me. Like I know a lot about stand-up comedy, and I know all the things you're supposed to do. So I found ways to subvert that. Like you're really not supposed to have, you know, dead air or go quiet. And a lot of comics are afraid of silence. But I want things to reset sometimes. I want people to know that part is done. Like I did, you know, maybe like 6 or 7 one-liners that are all kind of connected. They're all on one subject, but then I want everything to flatline and I want that quiet. And then I'm going to tell a different set of jokes, in which no one really does that. You're kind of not supposed to let the energy die out, but I want to light a match, let it burn, and then light another, you know, that's something I do.
Well, I'm curious, just thinking off the top of my head, what about that as a metaphor? Like, what if a visual metaphor, what if you actually lit a match and told jokes while it burned, and then when it was out, you just stopped for a minute until you lit another match?
That's going to be too high concept for people. Okay. I can already tell.
What do you feel about it?
I wouldn't want to bring matches on and stay. I would burn myself.
Because as you were saying it, I was
Not
like,
on purpose.
I was like, that'd be really interesting, and it might take me a match or two to completely understand, but I think then I would really appreciate it.
I would be too meticulous that I would never find the matches that last exactly the length of each joke.
Mm-hmm.
So if I couldn't do that, I'd be like, because that's kind of, sometimes I am like a little too like perfectionist, because it would have to go through the whole joke, through the punchline, and stop. And then they'd be matches I would think would burn about the same length every time, but the jokes aren't the same length every time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Now we've taken this sort of anti humor concept that you have, where you're finding the things you're not supposed to do and you're making them funny, which is also meta humor. And then I suggested sort of this weird high concept. I don't know what I would call it, but I liked it. By the third or fourth,
it has an idea to it, because then there's already other things you can do with it, because at some point then you can light a match and then not even tell a joke.
Or what I was going to say is, maybe this is a hack thought, but like at some point you light a match and it's burning a lot quicker, and you're telling a joke that's supposed to be longer, but like you rush through it to get to the end because it's burning. Like the audience at that point, if they're not laughing, I'm mad at them, because this is really high concept stuff. That's funny. I think.
I mean, if I could do it with sticks of dynamite, like there's a lot of stuff to play with here that I'm like, Wicks you can cut to a certain length.
Right. But I mean, it would be funnier to have matches that look the same but burn at different rates, and kind of play with that and people's expectations of, oh, he's going to tell a joke while this match burns. People tuning in now are like, what? He tells jokes while matches? No, we're just creating a new form of comedy.
Well, at some point then I think my arm has to catch on fire. Like
Oh, that's good. You could have like a flame retardant sleeve.
Or I'll just burn myself.
Well, either way, I want to see this when it happens. What do you like about live comedy?
Wow. Nothing. I'm so tired of it. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore. I really like the energy of it. I really like that it is a broken fourth wall. I love, creating an entertainment and all that, but a lot of those things, those pieces, like even a painting, it's exactly what it is. And it's exactly what it is pretty much every time. Maybe you can mess with the color or the volume or whatever else you want to mess with. But comedy is never exactly the same way every time. It is a shared experience. Like whether the audience wants to be or not, they are part of that. Whether, they need to laugh really loud or maybe they don't laugh really loud. Like you can break that fourth wall.
That is, yeah, I think that's a good answer. What do you hate about stand-up comedy?
Everything I just said, but opposite. No, I don't like the sort of like egos, I guess, like the people that are kind of unaware of what they are and what they should be doing. Because it's really hard to do stand-up comedy when you have to follow someone else that wasn't fully aware of what they were doing. Because like I just said, it's all alive. So you can't hit the reset button. That audience that's sitting there that was just watching whoever else was just on, now you're on. And I think that's probably one of the worst things, because it's the detriment of this live experience is now different than what you could have brought to it if they hadn't performed, or if you had switched the order around, or if they had done something else on stage rather than what they just did. It's just, there's so much of that I'm like, man, it's so nice when you just have your own show.
That is something I've noticed. The person that goes ahead of you, like especially at open mics, somebody can, I want to say poison an audience, but like that's really the best analogy I can come up with. They can turn an audience, they can change their energy, so they're done.
Or be too good.
Oh yeah,
this isn't all just negative. Like it's also positive on their part.
For sure. But I was gonna say there is an opportunity. I've found there's an opportunity if someone's like really bad and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Sometimes if you handle that right, it works out really well. But if you don't handle it right, then it hurts even more, I think, than just having a bad set, in my experience.
I had someone who was having an okay set before me once, and they got really engaging with the audience, and they were really good at it. But man, did it ever frustrate me, because I was getting a lot of time that I was like headlining, and I thought, I can't really do a lot of that now. I can't be engaging to that group of people, because it's kind of been done. They just saw it. So that hurt me as a performer, because it kind of took away, but which you shouldn't rely on. I'm not saying, oh my God, I couldn't do crowd work, but like, you know, it's like rely on your set. But it was that kind of night where I thought I can do crowd work, and sure enough, someone else thought the same thing and got to it before me.
So you would never double down on the same table of crowd work?
I mean, they kind of called out and addressed things I was going to talk about. So it was like, but of course, you know, it's the elephant in the room kind of thing, where it's like, well, of course they mentioned it.
Right. They took your answer.
Right. So I mean, I still wanted to play with that energy, and I still did, but it was still like, dang it, like if only you hadn't gone up just then, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your favorite city to do stand-up comedy in?
Sacramento.
Really?
Actually, yeah, honestly, like I record almost all my sets, and I listen back to them and everything, and I review them, and pretty much all my best sets are in Sacramento.
Okay. Would you say that Sacramento crowds are smarter than other cities?
I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I haven't done an IQ test on Sacramento.
Sure. But they get your humor in a way that you appreciate.
Looser. You know,
okay.
I was going to SF in Oakland and doing that stuff. I've never I do okay in SF, but I've never really made that my audience or my city. And I think that's different enough of a city that I would have to really grind and perform a lot there to really figure out the approach there, where Sacramento was just natural. Anytime I was there, it just fit.
Okay. Are there any cities that you aren't in a hurry to get back to?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'll go anywhere, probably, maybe. I don't know. There's some places that I'm like, I don't remember the names of them, and I'm like, there's probably a reason for that.
I won't ask you where they are, because
I don't remember.
You don't remember the name? Yeah.
They're in California, I think. I don't know if it was Oregon or Nevada.
No, I was thinking, like, I can't even ask. You don't remember the name?
I don't know. Somewhere in between here and Sacramento and LA, maybe. So that's a big 1,000-mile, whatever.
Could have been in Yosemite.
I don't know.
What's the most interesting venue that you've performed in? Because like you said, you're not just booked for comedic acts. You're not just booked where like other stand-up comics would be booked, but you're booked where people want to show as well, right? So what's the most interesting
I did a
venue?
variety show in Petaluma, actually, where I didn't even know the place existed. You know, it's like I live in Sonoma County. And they were there in a restaurant, but they had a stage, and they had like this whole back area. I'm like, well, you do show, but the stage was too small to do like theater shows, because it wasn't more than like 8 feet. So I'm like, you couldn't really, you know, even like children's theater. I'm like, I guess kids are smaller and shorter. They could maybe do like Charlotte's Web or something. But that was that was a variety show. There was a lot of different acts that night, and it was almost a little like barn energy, as people are like sitting on benches. So you got people who don't really know each other sitting next to each other, and there was a fun like energy to all that.
Did you say barn with an
like
N?
a barn? Yeah, like because
Okay.
they're on a and it had a big like ceiling, like a high ceiling. And,
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't mishear, and you said bar energy.
Yeah, barn. Yeah,
A show with bar energy is a lot different than a show with barn energy.
No, there's an N at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Barn energy. I'd like to know what that feels like as a performer one day, to have barn energy. What's the most interesting show or experience that stand-up has given you or opened up for you?
I mean, stuff like this. You know, I've done a handful of interviews, and I used to be pretty bad at it, because I am a performer, and you know, you put a mic in my hand, I'll just go. So I kind of forget that there's supposed to be a back and forth in interviews. You're kind of like, you have to ask questions. I don't just keep talking. So I had some earlier ones where I'm like, I listened to it, I'm like, oh, I was so not good at this. I was so bad at talking. I'm not good at talking to people. And then the sort of aspect of, well, we're going to talk about things you know about, because we're not talking about stand-up. We're going to talk about you. So it's like, well, of course I should be able to do it, but it's been nice to get better at this, just in general. And it's really cool that I can even do it. Like, it sounds so weird. Like, people will interview me, like, yeah, I guess they do. I can't say they don't.
I think this has been a really fun, and I've had a lot of fun asking you some questions and getting to talk.
Well, it does help that we've, because in the past, I've done interviews with people I didn't really know. Like, we've met and seen each other before. So there was that too. And like I said, I'm better at it. So we have that rapport where,
That's what I was going to say. Rapport helps a lot. I've interviewed people that I've never talked to before. And rapport definitely makes a difference. Although I would say you and I have only talked in person, I think, once for like 10 minutes and then another time before that for like a minute and a half. So you don't need a lot, but I feel like
sometimes it's enough.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of rapport and at least a lot of interesting aspects that I find interesting to ask you about. So I think that helps me when I'm interviewing. But thank you for being glad to be here. Oliver, that's the end of my proper questions. Was there anything I'm not smart enough to bring up or that you'd like to talk about?
No, I don't know. I mean, I'll just keep going if you're careful with, like, you gotta take the mic out of my hand sometimes,
Okay. Well, that's one reason why you might want to think about having matches burning in your hand when you're telling jokes.
I know, it just would time it all the way down.
It would. I do want to end my interview as I always do with rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Oliver Graves, for rapid fire questions?
Rapid fire. Hold on. I think I am not ready. I need to actually get ready. Because the idea is I'm not supposed to hesitate, and I'm really good at hesitating.
I mean, nobody really does it rapid fire.
Yeah, but I want to be good at it.
People have long answers. People take time. People give multiple answers. So you do it how you want to do it. That's kind of.
Are there wrong answers to this? Can I get some of these wrong?
There is one. There is one really wrong answer, and I will tell you when we get there that this is the question that has a wrong answer.
Is there going to be incorrect, and then I owe you money at the end of Jeopardy?
Oh my God, no! But we should think about doing that for the next show.
Okay. Well, hopefully I won't go in the negative.
I like that. Well, we won't do it here. We'll just make notes, and the next SAP that has the wrong answers, I'll try to make some money because my audience doesn't tip a lot usually. Hopefully you're going to get some, and Chelsea and Clifton got some, and Stab gets some today, though. Okay, here we go. Rapid fire questions. If you were performing tonight, what would your walk-up song be?
I'm Walking on Sunshine.
I like that answer for you. What's your favorite recurring show to perform in?
Recurring show? North Bay Cabaret.
What is that? Tell me about that.
It's a show in, it's always past tense. Welcome to COVID. Mm-hmm. In Santa Rosa, it's a variety show, and all kinds of performers. They do burlesque, they do musicians, they do poets, and any other kind of maybe sideshow acts and comedy. And yeah, it was a great show.
Just side question. I know I'm going against my own rapid fire structure here. Do you feel if you're in a variety show like that with another comic who's just a regular hoodie and jeans comic, he's not wearing a tie or anything, do you feel more prepared for the environment than you think he does? Or what's that like when he talks to you in that moment in that show?
Well, yes, for two reasons. One, because I've performed in so many variety shows that became kind of my wheelhouse, and that's not a lot of other comics' wheelhouse. They're unfamiliar with it. And then also, yes, because people are going there to see things that they wouldn't normally see. That's the point of going to a variety show, is the variety.
Right.
So already when I walk out, some of those people are just I'm in love with him. I love I don't care what he's going to say. His makeup is so on point. I want to just, hug him and kiss him and everything. And I'm well, hell no. But
you're
it's,
I'm not
it really is, there's this energy already that I just carry with me.
Do you find that the hoodie comedian in that situation, does he gravitate towards you? Is he man, I'm glad there's another comedian?
Well, often people do know me, and they know that I've performed it before, and I can kind of say, hey, here's what's up with this and this, because it's, it is a variety show, and sometimes comedian, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to just take it and walk off, because they're not here for, there's going to be nudity later sometimes, and it's well, they don't care about the things coming out of your mouth.
Right on. Who is your favorite comedian?
I really like Maria Bamford. She's just she does all the things that I wish I was good at.
I'm not going to say you're not good at them, but I did think because I think you do great. But I did think about her when you were talking about someone who does the things that they shouldn't do and has low energy, and how clubs are like, oh, we want someone with high energy and does all the things. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure they would all book Maria Bamford.
Yeah. I just love the way she does asides and she does the voices and stuff. It's just...
Yeah. I think she's great too. No one said her before. That's really interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Over.
How many people have you asked? Like, you haven't asked enough people, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I've asked at least 37 people. And then the first couple of shows, and then every once in a while we have 2 guests. So probably 45 people or so. No one said Maria Bamford yet. Wait, one person might have. Apple Adams, a drag queen, might have said Maria Bamford.
Oh, I've met Apple, yeah.
Yeah, because I know Apple loves Maria Bamford, so I don't want to say no one has. I really should make a list of this so I can say these things with certainty. What's your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
I didn't know it existed.
Oh, well.
I usually sleep through whatever that may or may. Does that happen before noon?
So sometimes brunch can happen at 1. We have a brunch here in Sacramento.
That would be breakfast.
At 1 o'clock?
Sure.
Hey, look, I won't wake up until like 3 in the afternoon, so I'm with you. But if I get to perform in brunch, I stay up all night. So if you have a show in Sacramento and you want to check out brunch, we have a post-noon showtime. Just saying.
It's a myth to me, this brunch you speak of.
Okay, fair. You could see Apple there. How's that?
Okay.
All right. What's your favorite sexual position?
How specific am I allowed to get for this? Like, I don't
think we have any restrictions. Yeah, go ahead.
Does like location matter with position? Like, if I say like in a cemetery, is that...
If that's what makes it your favorite, then I think,
yes, that's what makes it my favorite.
In a cemetery.
Yes.
Okay, cool. No one has said that. I know that in 45 people. Do you cook?
I'm not even lying too. Like, I'm not even gonna bullshit on that. People think I'm lying about that. I'm like, oh no. I had someone get in an argument with me about that. They're like, that's really disrespectful. And I was like, well, it wasn't feeling disrespectful.
I guess it depends on the religion of the cemetery, the denomination. Because I can see some people not caring and some people caring a lot. Do you cook or bake?
Yeah, I have to. I'm gluten intolerant, so I have to cook everything myself. And if I'm going to bake anything, I have to bake it myself.
But
so, yeah.
It's healthier.
Well, not always. I was eating Spam the other day.
Okay, that's gluten.
Which is gluten-free.
Right, yeah. What flavor of Spam? I just learned there's flavors.
Oh, this was a turkey one, so it was Spam-flavored turkey.
Oh, okay. Better you than me.
Fried it up.
Speaking of things that I might not enjoy the flavor of, if we're at the bar after a show and someone's buying us shots, what are we shooting?
Gin, so we can see everyone wince.
Yes. Okay. I like gin. What kind of gin, though?
What's that one? Bombay Sapphire?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm drinking. I've never done that as a shot, but I'm drinking that with you. I guess that takes care of what kind of drink we're drinking.
I don't like gin, and that's why I would do it as a shot.
Okay.
Because if I'm doing a shot, I want it to be something I'm just kicking back.
You should try.
Because I like rum, so it's like I don't want to just plow through it.
Try Bombay Sapphire East. I mean, this goes against what you just said a second ago, but I had that thought a second ago. It has a little smoother flavor than Bombay Sapphire, but nobody carries it. So, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, so you're not gonna get it out anyway. So if someone's buying us drinks and we're drinking, what are we drinking?
That kind of depends. I do like margaritas, but that's sugary and salty. I do like a rum and Coke. So that's a nice, thing to have. I'm kind of basic like that. Like, I really just like a mixer and, alcohol.
Oh, I call that classy instead of basic. Light rum, dark rum?
I like dark rum, but I like light rum too. I like rum quite a bit. I'm kind of a pirate that way.
You're rum-verse. You're a pirate. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is the one with the correct answer or an incorrect answer. Ready? Toilet paper.
Okay.
Over or under?
I don't pay attention. I know I'm chaotic that way. I just take the role and put one in, and I don't care how it hangs.
That's the wrongest answer. I don't know what to do.
I'm the worst person. I know. I've told people this,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't have time to worry how it's going to end up.
That might
Like,
be,
why would I care?
You might be the worst person because of that. Because I've learned from doing this show that the people that say under, they're wrong, but they don't bother me as much as you chaotic people. Okay. I'm going to move on before I get too incredulous. Do you have a favorite drag queen?
A favorite drag queen?
Mhm.
I mean, I did meet Ava Destruction when I was doing America's Got Talent, so that was kind of cool. I know they went on, was it Dragula?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're super notable before. They didn't need America's Got Talent. In fact, America's Got Talent kind of cut their clip. So they were really nice and really cool, and they do a lot of really elaborate makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. That she does a pretty good performance. Do you have a favorite drag king?
Not familiar enough to be able to answer that one.
Okay. We have some in Sacramento if you come.
I know I've seen them. I used to date a drag queen, so I was at shows and stuff, but it's just kind of in one ear out the other.
I'm gonna think of a drag king that you would like. I'm not gonna suggest one yet because I'm gonna try to think of one that fits your style, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Because I always like to suggest, like, if somebody's never seen drag queens or drag kings, I suggest. Obviously, you've been to many drag shows, but I'm gonna take my time before I suggest one here. Oh, do you think I'm pretty?
Well, I'm not usually into blondes, but
I mean, I can change.
I mean, for a blonde.
Okay. All right. So probably you wouldn't date me because I'm blonde.
I've tried to date blondes before, and it's never taken. I don't know what I've had a lot of bad luck with blondes. I'm not even kidding. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've been toying with red lately. So, last question. When this is all over, and it's 2021, so it's over, right? And we have a new normal or an old normal or a normal. What's the first thing you want to do, Oliver, when this is all over?
I think I want to go to a movie. Like, I think that's just, it's so simple, but I want to go somewhere where there's an audience, and I don't want to have to perform. And I want to just enjoy the experience and enjoy the audience experience. And I think a movie is the best way to do that.
Black Widow?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's all the questions I have, Oliver. Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I thank you to anyone that came to watch you, and I hope they enjoyed the show.
I say some people did. Yeah, that's really cool that they came and checked it out.
Yeah, and I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to talk with you about off camera. I'm probably going to have to watch the episode back so I can remember what I wanted to mention. But I can't wait to thank you and talk to you later. So for now, take care, and thanks for being here so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye. All right, everybody, that was Oliver Graves. He's amazing. He's fantastic. You can find him on his Instagram. You can find him at the Argus Courier. If you want to subscribe and read that, he writes a column, bi-weekly column. That's bi-weekly every other week, not bi-weekly twice a week. That has a different name. I forget at the moment. Also, you can send money and subscribe to Stab Comedy Theater above my head. And with that, we're going to get to our last guest that sometimes isn't here. Sometimes we cut for time. Comedian, actor, producer, writer, whatever he's doing, David Shapiro. Hi, David. Are you there?
Hey, Suzette. How are you tonight?
Hi. I'm all right. Thank you for asking.
Good. Okay. No, I'll pretend to care tonight.
Oh, thank you.
That's good.
Sweet.
That's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. Okay. So today I want to dispel two different notions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is you can be happy and depressed
Me?
at the same time, or
Oh, general.
this is crazy because this is a lot of people have been asking me about this lately. They seem not to understand this. You can be depressed and be happy at the same time, right? Like everybody, like this has been happening a lot, especially with people that work in the mental health field, which I will tell anybody the mental health field should be demolished completely. Nobody in the mental health field seems to know what they're doing at all. They're just shooting blindly with sawed-off shotguns. That's the kind that just sprays bullets everywhere. I'm not a gun person at all, right? That's the one that just sprays. Okay, so they're just shooting blindly, hoping they hit something when they're like, oh, you should try being happy. I am happy. I'm really happy, actually.
Good.
I'm surrounded by family and friends, and I get to do things I like for a living. I have dogs. Like, what's not to be happy about? I'm happy, right? But depression doesn't care if you're happy. Depression just happens because a chemical imbalance. You're depressed. And so a lot of and this is, again, it's crazy because people in the mental health industry, in the mental health field, have said the dumbest shit to me ever recently. Like, oh yeah, one time I was depressed for like a season because, I went through some hard stuff. That's called life. You've gone through some life. Sometimes life will make you sad, right? Depression is not going through some hard stuff or being broken up with or like, ooh, it's cold outside. Like, seasonal depression is real, and that can happen, but not just because it's cold outside. It's I don't know much about seasonal affective disorder, but what I'm saying is, like, depression is a chemical imbalance that comes, and it does. You could have I could have, because you get depressed. Okay, it doesn't matter. I get depressed, right? And I could have the best day of my life. Come home, right? This happened once. I had a great day with my wife. I impressed her very much at a one of her work Christmas parties. This is not recently, obviously. And we went home, and she was so impressed. Not only that, like, because before we went, she was like, "You behave yourself," and I was like, "I will behave." What do you mean? I would telling grown men to behave themselves. But not only did I do what she expected, I did more than that, and I was charming as I can be. And she was just so proud of me and so happy with me. And we got home to our dogs and our home, and like, it was great, right? And I'm happy, and I'm floating on air. My wife is all the reasons that she loves me. We're on display, all my me, and I laid in bed and I thought, it will never get better than this. I must die now, because life will get worse now. That's depression. That makes no sense, right? Or like, I could have a good day now, a good set doing stand-up.
No, you couldn't.
I could have a good set doing stand-up and get home and be like, oh, shit, I should die, because the next one's not going to be as good. So, depression, and it's not always like that. Sometimes you just wake up depressed. You don't have to have a good day to be depressed. You don't have to have a bad day to be. You could just wake up depressed, right? And not want to get out of bed. Depression comes in all different reasons and all different ways. And depression is awful. And the mental health industry needs to be just torn down and rebuilt by people who actually, one, care, people who, two, know what they're doing. A woman at Sierra Vista is a facility in southern Sacramento. They flaked on me. I had an appointment the other day for an assessment, like to go be treated by them, right? And it was at 5:00 p.m. and I waited until 5:40. Now, I am habitually late, right? Like, I am never on time, right? And I waited till 5:40, 40 minutes after, and I called and I was like, "Hey, is anybody? Are you guys calling? Did you have the wrong number? Like, I thought you had my number. We checked. I gave you my number and you read it back to me. Are we still doing this? What happened? Did somebody cancel it without telling me?" And they were like, "Oh, no, we're getting to it. It's still on the board." Not here, obviously. I'm just mimicking what they did. "It's still on the board. We're going to get to you. It might be like an hour or so. We're just behind today." Okay, cool. As someone who's habitually, perpetually late, I was like, I get it, totally, right? So I sat by my phone for the next 5 hours until 10:40. This is almost 6 hours after my scheduled appointment time for an intake assessment at a mental health facility, Sierra Vista in southern Sacramento, right? 6 hours almost later, right? I called and I was like, hey, are you guys still calling me? And this lady, Christina, I will not forget her name, she was like, oh, yeah, it happens. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do you want us to call you tomorrow? And I was like, I don't know if I trust that you will, honestly, at this point. Like, 6 hours, you guys didn't call. You just didn't call, didn't care. Like, you just forgot about me. Or not, or worse, you knew you weren't calling. And I had to call twice for you to even care. And she was like, it happens. And I was like, no, I don't think a mental health facility should flake on people. And she was like, oh, we didn't flake. And I was like, you guys stood me up is what happened. And she was like, we didn't stand you up. And I was like, yeah, no, you stood me up, right? Like, if I want to be stood up, I'll date. Like, because I'll get stood up a lot if I date, I assume. I mean, not right now, it's a pandemic. Yeah. But I'll get stood up a lot if I date. And, like, I don't want to be stood up. And she was like, this isn't dating, sir. And I was like, that was an analogy, ma'am. And she was like, well, we didn't stand you up. And I was like, you absolutely 100% did stand me up. Like, there's no scenario where you didn't stand me up by not calling, and I had to call twice. And 6 hours later, you're telling me, like, it happens. And she was like, well, do you want us to call you tomorrow and do it? And I was like, no, actually, I don't. Because if this is how you treat people before they're your patients, like, how do you treat people after they're your patients? Probably not better. You're probably not trying to, like, make a good impression. And she was like, sir, we didn't stand you up. And I was like, you 100% did, and don't worry about it. I'll be fine, because help isn't going to come from you guys. And she was like, all right, well, we're here for you. Just know that. And I was like, you're clearly not. You're clearly not there for me. Like, you guys couldn't even be bothered to call me and be like, hey, we're really sorry. We're behind today, and we're not going to get to call you. We just don't have the time. Can we reschedule this for tomorrow? You guys couldn't even do that. And she hung up on me mad. Why? Because I was right. And I found that when I'm right, usually people get really mad and they hang up. It's this obnoxious thing people find when they're wrong and I'm right, and I call them on it. It's crazy. So, depression. Sorry, just wanted to say, I've talked for almost, 8 minutes now? Okay, so there's not much time for the other one. What was the other one? I don't even remember. There was depression and happiness.
Dating?
Coexist. Oh, we can just touch on this for like a minute and a half. Uh-huh. Needing companionship, right? Follow me on this. And you're single, right? Okay. Needing companionship does not mean you're codependent, right? And here's the thing. People will tell you, yes, it does, if you need to be somebody with your codependent. No. I know this, and I'm quoting a podcast that I listened to. It's called What's Up, Silicon Valley, and they had a dating podcast about Silicon Valley, and they had an expert on, and they were like, is codependency when you need to be with somebody? He was like, no, and I'm paraphrasing, like, you should interview someone that actually knows what they're talking about, not just someone who lives it. He said he said codependency. It's been a while since I listened to that episode. Codependency is when basically serial monogamous, right? Which, like, it's been a long time since I've had any monogamy or gamy. Is it gamy? Because there's monogamy and polygamy. So what's just gamy? I've not had any gamy, right? I've had a lot of me, but no gamy, right? I've been zero gamy and 100% just me. Zero gamy, 100% just me. And it's very lonely. And I'm not codependent because, like, I'm functioning. But, like, damn. It'd be nice to eat dinner with somebody. Watch a movie with somebody. You know? Talk to somebody other than you. See somebody other than you. So, sorry. But it would, I could use some gamy in my life, basically, is what I'm saying. So, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna go now. But just to recap, you can be happy and depressed. Christina at Sierra Vista sucks and should get out of mental health because she's a hack. And I could use some gamy. Of whatever kind. I could just use some companionship and gamy. Because just me is lonely. So,
That's
Thanks for the time tonight, Suzette.
You're
That's
welcome.
all I got. I'm going to go before I am here too long.
Yeah, I think it's been too long.
So you take care.
Thanks.
And I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Always so quick.
Okay. Yeah, this time out. Sorry. I do usually say it fast. So,
Okay.
Good night, Suzette.
Good night, David.
I hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay. That was the show, everyone. Thank you to Clifton and to Chelsea and Oliver Graves for coming on the show, and David Shapiro is here too. Thank you to Stab. Thank you for tuning in. If it was your first time, we're here every Sunday at 5:03. If you're a regular viewer, thank you so much. We do the show for you. We'll be back next week with a drag queen named No One. So tune in next week, 5:03, for my interview with No One.
The city's your playground. I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll make you mine. Hot mess, and I'm falling for you. And I'm like, hot damn, let me make you my boo. Shake it, shake it, shake it, yeah, you know what to do. You're a hot mess, I'm loving it, hell yes. You're a hot mess, and I'm falling for you.
Thanks for hanging out. Whoa, oh, that's too much. Hold on. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. There we go. Sorry, we had Suzette come back on the screen. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna send you guys over to, I believe they're still going. Yeah, let's send you guys over to See You Next TV. Keep the night going. All of the Twitch audience, thanks for hanging out. Check us out some other night. We're here 7 days a week. You know that. In the meantime, I'm just gonna send you over to See You Next TV. See you tomorrow.